and I made a joke about the price of chicken wings going up. This is no longer a joke anymore. What is happening out there?
Well, I think it's a product of everything else going up. It's just, I think a lot of it comes to, it comes down to the oil prices. A lot of it, right? That's the base for everything. When you're talking trucking and fertilizer costs and feed costs, it just takes oil to get everything to us. And what exactly caused the chicken wing thing? I don't know. We were kind of joking about that the other day. My wife and I, like, we're fine when it comes to the rest of the chicken, but we're running out of wings. I mean, I suppose that's the best part.
Yeah. Yeah, and for you personally, how much money does it take just in gas alone to fill up your equipment to go out and farm every day?
A ridiculous amount. In the fall during harvest, probably, well, this time of year now, it would probably $8,000 to $10,000 a day in diesel.
Holy shit! Are you kidding?
Not with the prices where we're at today. No, I'm not. No, this spring we were burning about 1,000 gallons a day. And that's up at $4.95 right now. That's what we paid for 2 days ago. So
if you were doing this daily, and obviously I'm sure you take Saturdays and Sundays off, you're looking at close to $250, $300 a month to fill up just gasoline?
Yeah, probably close to that, yeah. Luckily, we're only burning that much typically during harvest. So for us, that's about a 6-week time span. So like this time of year now, we're not burning anything nearly close to that.
Have you guys thought about maybe moving all this stuff using trebuchets or something like that? Just launching it and hoping for the best.
I'm not even sure what you just said.
You know, a trebuchet is like that. It's a Roman tool, a siege warfare tool. It has a pulley system and it throws a big rock, right? So it's a catapult is just an arm that you bend down and then you put something in it and it throws it. A trebuchet actually uses what do you call it? A fucking
like inertia?
An axis point, yeah. So there's something holding it back, and then there's also the weight of the object itself, and it kind of goes in a circle like this and then throws it. So just fill that thing up full of shit, right, and throw it onto your farm.
Yeah.
Problem solved. I've done your job for you.
I think all of our listeners have crashed their car looking up the word trebuchet on Google right now.
No,
I can see the Millennial Farmer looking down. He's like, "Yo, is that TRI?"
All these nerds played fucking Rome Total War. They know what a trebuchet is.
I'm not much of a gamer, but I did write down the word trebuchet, and I was questioning the spelling.
There you go.
I'll figure it out later.
It's TREBUCHET. That's how you spell it.
Oof. Now's the time to use that board we have. Is that incorrect or correct? You know,
I had it incorrect.
I did too.
Correct.
All right. Bob says it is correct.
I'll tell you what you won't have to do is correct my spelling or pronunciation. In that, I am unique at this desk.
I've got a very great editor for all of my books. So I don't really have to worry about that. I can throw the words down and then have him deal with it later.
Yeah, but can you throw shit from a trebuchet onto Millennial Farmer's farm?
I feel pretty positive that I could.
I feel
pretty positive that I could.
It's difficult to build, but not really difficult to operate.
No, it seems pretty easy. You just press a button at the end, right? We're good to go. What else are you going through up there as far as like wheat goes? Dan and I talked about this on the show. There was a wheat shortage that's about to hit Africa. How is that going in the United States? And is that something that we would have to incur in the future?
I think as far as us, it's going to definitely affect food prices a little bit just because it's a global market. So you got to look at the things globally. We don't need to look just in our backyard as far as what the wheat prices are going to do. But the fact is we do have a lot of wheat in our backyard. So I don't see the U.S. running out of wheat, but I do see prices going up just because global demand is going to be there. It's hard to say exactly what's going to happen overseas when you talk about the Black Sea region and what Russia's got going on there. And they're basically trying to blockade the exporting of the wheat out of Ukraine, going to Poland and Turkey, places like that. What they're trying to do is they're trying to move as much out on rail cars they can using trains, which is great. I mean, those are always used, but that can't move nearly the amount of volume like the ships can. So that's the problem they're running into. A couple of weeks ago, Biden mentioned that he had the great idea of building some, in his words, temporary grain silos on the edge of Ukraine to store up to 20 million metric tons. And I haven't looked up exactly how much wheat comes out of the Ukraine, but I don't think 20 million metric tons is really going to move the needle a whole lot. I think it was a nice thing for our president to come on television and say, but beyond that, I don't know that it's really a possibility.
Boom, you just got fact checked by a farmer, Biden. Fuck you.
Well, Russia's the number one global exporter of wheat. They export about 24%. I think Ukraine is like 12% or some shit like that.
They're top like 3.
Yeah, they're top 5.
Yeah.
I know. I don't know if they're top 3, but they're definitely top 5. So U.S. and Canada, I think, are in there as well. I don't know who the fifth one would be. So maybe they're top 4. But anyways, 2 of the countries that produce the most wheat are currently at war with each other, and a third out of the top 5 is experiencing rampant inflation and fuel cost issues. Right. So yeah, that's just a bad combination of shit.
Yeah,
for sure, for everybody.
Speaking of a bad combination of shit, I heard there's fertilizer supply problems. Are you having that up there?
Yeah, a little bit. Personally, on our farm, we have not yet because we fertilized 80 to 90% of our acres actually last fall when we harvested, kind of in preparation. I mean, that's a common practice for us in this area, but also in preparation of this because we kind of all saw the prices going up. We kind of wondered if this might be coming, and it's a real thing. We personally it hasn't affected us other than higher prices. It costs us a lot more to grow the crop right now.
Gotcha. What about the drought? A lot of people are talking about a drought across the country, and that is affecting crops as well. Is it affecting yours?
No, we actually in our area, we were in a pretty severe drought last year. And about end of August into September last year, it started raining. We got tons of snow over the winter, and we've had a lot of rain this summer. So in my area, we're not affected by drought right now at all. But I know there are some areas that are affected. But if you watch closely, this is the time of year where every year they talk about droughts or too much rain. They're always talking about weathers this time of year.
Yeah, because, down here, we haven't gotten that much rain in Texas, and I wonder if that pushes business your way. So if you're able to capitalize off of something like that, because, pretty much most of the South and a lot of the West has been going through this heat wave for about the last 3 or 4 weeks. In Texas here, it's been, feels like 104 every single day for 2 weeks at this point. We've had, I think, 1 day of rain, and what did that last? 5-6 hours?
It was like a day and a half, depending on where you were. But yeah, I guess the question you're asking is, because we don't really grow a whole lot of crops here, but lots of livestock.
Correct.
So the question is, how much feed are you providing? Because a lot of feed does come from around here, but, you have to round out the cow's diet, especially because there's a lot of not small batch, that's not the right word, but there's a lot of small ranches here that have a very restrictive feed schedule for their cattle, right? Over the course, like it's a 2-year period of they feed them specific shit during specific parts of the year for both of those 2 years. You know what I mean? Right now, I mean, you would think that the main option is to, like in any other business, source as locally and cheaply as you can and then move outward. And now it's complicated not just by what might be a drought here, but then, all the complications that farmers are having up north plus the fuel, right?
Yep.
Like that's fucked up. So beef prices are definitely going up as well. It's not just going to be wheat and corn and shit. Beef prices are also going up.
And is that what you're seeing up your way?
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens every year when there's a drought in a certain area. You guys are maybe hearing about Texas a lot more because that's where you're sitting. Last year, we had serious issues in like the Dakotas and Wyoming, Montana. They had some big problems there because for the same reason Dan was just talking about, the cattle guys, they couldn't get the corn, they couldn't get the forage, they didn't have the grasses and the hay because they weren't getting any rain. So they started coming eastward where we had more rain, and they were coming into Minnesota and Wisconsin, wherever they could go to try to get the stuff to bring the forage to the cattle. And yeah, it raised the beef prices a little bit, but it was hard on those guys. They were struggling just to feed their animals, and so there were a lot of guys actually trying to dump their animals as cheap as they possibly could to just basically to get out from under them because it was too expensive to try to feed them.
Is it this administration, or are you up against it with every administration as far as how they treat farmers and tax breaks and all that stuff?
It comes and goes. Honestly, I can't say that it has anything specific to do with this administration right now. If you believe that the oil prices and the way everything is kind of trending as far as inflationary and stuff like that, as far as that goes, then I suppose you could put some of the blame on this administration specifically. But I mean, ultimately, my whole life, it just it comes and goes. It just moves around.
Gotcha. Because the media has been using this lately as far as inflation numbers for food and what it's doing to farmers and everything else. And that's why I wanted to ask you if this was, president specific, or if this was just an ongoing on and off thing. And hey, it's what's happening in the world, and nobody has any control over it.
I think it's a multitude of things we're looking at right now. We're 2 years behind of what happened with COVID there in 2020 and 21 with shutting things down. And we're looking at shortages of all kinds. And now there's uncertainty between Russia and the Ukraine. So it's just the perfect storm has kind of come together. So we have really high crop prices right now. My corn and soybeans are worth a lot. But the problem is that it zeroes itself out when you look at the input costs that have risen for us.
Got it. So let's say everything with Russia and Ukraine, they had their version of a Thanksgiving dinner, and they all said, we're going back home, and it was a nice fight. We're all done here. What would that do for food prices and gas prices and all that shit?
I would think that it would slowly come down, because right now I think a lot of it is fear marketing. I think they're raising prices, expecting their prices to go up. So the price you're paying at the store, some of that's gone up is because they're anticipating it to go up. So they're trying to get ahead of it. So I would expect if they have that Thanksgiving dinner and shake hands, that it should come down some. But as well as I do that the sellers are never, it's not just going to reverse overnight and everything's going to come down, because the consumer's used to paying that higher price all of a sudden.